Sweet. I guess I'll just kind of start off here and with all of y'all, and as we kind of go, we can chit chat throughout and see where you guys are at. But I'll get into it. So starting off, we're here, ditch your burnout, start the healing now. Pretty basic title that's getting straight to the point because that's who I am. That's what I like to do. I love to not mess around with a bunch of fluff. So here we go. Let me get into the right screen. So first thing is, who am I? My name is Marissa O'Grady Kessner. I have kind of a load of a last name. And I specifically started off with being a wilderness professional. So for the first decade of my life, I spent large portions of time in the wilderness in different degrees. So one, why am I focusing on burnout? And two, why do I primarily work with women? I do work with some men and it has to vibe with you. That's kind of how I say it. And we get on the phone and chat and make it work. So I focus on burnout specifically because I have seen it affect so many people, especially in this last year. We are exhausted. We are exhausted from being on Zoom all the time. Here we are. We're exhausted from not going out. We're exhausted from being in the house. There are just so many things kind of left and right that are just slowly just tiring our brains out. And I moved this last year, I moved into working specifically with burnout because I was seeing that it's such a thing. I specifically I use the wilderness as one of the most powerful tools. And that is something that I feel like is super underutilized, especially right now. So that's kind of starting off there. We'll go into, here we go. So burnout sucks and it shouldn't own your time. You should own your time. You should be the person in charge of it and not feeling like this weight is heavy on you all the time. So like I said, I'm a wilderness professional. I've spent a long time working with folks in the wilderness in therapeutic nature and specifically working in a lot of clinical settings with some clinical therapists. And what I saw is that nature is incredibly healing. Working in the wilderness is incredibly healing and it helps burnout. So much of the research that I've done and the things that I've kind of dove into and obsessed over is how we are getting burnt out because we don't feel creative anymore. We don't feel excited about our jobs and nothing is feeling like that spark that you got when you first got your job, that kind of goes away, or that spark that you felt with your partner initially, that is feeling less because we're exhausted from all of these other things. And we're going to dive into what those things are here at the end, or here next, not at the end. So some fun facts. This is me and my husband on the Grand Teton last summer. I am a climber. I love playing outside. I love utilizing the wilderness. And I teach this because it works. And I've seen it work, not only with myself and all of my friends, but all of my clients as well. So how do we support you? We have two different ways that we support you here at Grounding Source. One is an immersion. That is a 3-day experience out here in Utah. That's kind of the big one. The other one is an online course. This specifically gets down to the root cause of your burnout. Other things that this does, this online course, it teaches sustainable ways to hold goals because there's nothing worse than being burnt out on your goals. It's like we're making goals, we're trying to do self-care, and then we're burnt out on our self-care. And there are ways to work with that, and that is what I do. So what is burnout and how is it different between men and women specifically? We'll kind of get into the causes of burnout, which is the what. The what is emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and decreased sense of accomplishment. So we're going to get into what all of those mean here in a second. But the big thing that I want to note is there's such a difference between men and women in the ways that we're getting burnt out. So many women, we've been socialized for years and years and thousands of years about to be pretty and happy and calm and generous and attentive to the needs of others, which simply means that we are interacting with the world differently. There are 1,000 extra things going on in our brains while we're also trying to be the best at everything that we're doing. Expectations are higher on women. It has been proven that women have to do more work to be seen as doing the same amount of work as men. And it comes down to we can handle a lot of stress when we have a lot of purpose and meaning behind it. When we lose that purpose and meaning, we struggle more. So what are the causes of burnout? The causes of burnout are emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and decreased sense of accomplishment. Each one of these, specifically, depersonalization is the idea, it looks like I forgot to put this in there, sorry guys, but working really fast. So depersonalization is the idea of not feeling that sense of connection with anything. That decreased sense of accomplishment is not feeling as though anything that you do matters. And the most important one is emotional exhaustion. And emotional exhaustion specifically, that is doing too much for too long. So stress and stressors. I'm going to actually jump back to the idea of emotional exhaustion, because this is the biggest thing that is stressing us out, that is burning us out. So emotional exhaustion, let's think about emotions as a tunnel. And when we're in a tunnel, you just got to get to the light at the other end. And emotional exhaustion is when we get stuck in that tunnel. We're stuck in that tunnel because something is prohibiting us from fully experiencing that emotion. So perhaps when you're at work, something stresses you out. So there's a stressor. This is the actual trigger. Somebody says something that ticks you off, whatever it is. But it is not socially acceptable to experience that emotion in that moment. It's not socially acceptable to experience it then because maybe you can't cry, maybe you don't have time to scream, or it's not appropriate to yell at this person, whatever it is. But that creates us to get trapped in our emotion. So then if we continue to do that over long periods of time, that creates what we call emotional exhaustion. That emotion is slowly wearing on our bodies as we go through. So we're going to talk here about stress and stressors. So the stressor is kind of what I just talked about. It's that actual trigger. It's the thing that makes you tick. The stress itself is the neurological, physiological response. This is the thing that is going on in your body, regardless of whether or not you choose to decide that it's happening or not. So you don't get to decide whether or not your body feels stress. Your body is going to interact with stress regardless of what you choose. So in the chat here, all of y'all that are here, let's talk about what are things that burn you out? What are your stressors? It can be things from your kids. It can be relationships. This can be work. This can be a specific project. This can be feeling the need to keep all of your creatures, like you have a cat and a dog and all of these things. Yes, kids, work. I don't take a break frequently. Yes. Other things. Is there anything specifically about the kids? Is it like feeling the need to be up or be down? Or what about anything specifically about taking breaks that, or things that can maybe prevent you from taking breaks?
I'll just give audio
Yeah, cool.
because I was typing and then I'm like, oh, it's probably easier for me to talk. So for me, with work, I find it hard to find time to take breaks. It's a lot of work, and my wife thinks I'm a workaholic. I think it's more so that there's a large volume of it, and it's just finding that balance. And it's definitely burning me out. I mean, I can be very honest and say that. And, even when we have days that are supposed to be, oh, I'm taking a day off work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my phone is always nearby. If, one of my employees needs something, it's really, really hard to find that balance. So,
yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Sabrina.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lauren, do you want to kind of jump on and say anything? Are you wanting, either way is totally fine, but I want to give you the opportunity to kind of share a little bit more.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks. And sorry guys, if you hear a little noise outside, our neighbor is doing some work. So anyways, you may hear them doing some sanding operations or whatever. Anyways, but yeah, probably the biggest thing in my life right now, I did write, kids, housework, work and relationships, all of the above, ha ha ha, but also I did lose my job a couple of months ago. So
Mhm.
finding a job, is like, I mean, come on, we've all been through that before, right? It's very stressful. So that is my job right now, is looking
Mhm.
for a job.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Lauren. Thanks so much for sharing. I think that is such a real thing. Like, and the reality, something that I'm hearing that's similar between both you, Sabrina, and Lauren, is simply the idea of not feeling like you can take a break. And it's that attachment that we have to being able to fix it all. I do believe that that is partially something that is conditioned into women more so than it is into men. I do work with some men, and men often have an easier time letting go and letting people fail a little bit more, or letting the house get crazy, um, whatever it is, because they're kind of just like, oh, that doesn't need to worry right now. I'm going to actually focus on this one thing. Yes, as a man, I agree with you, Marissa. Thank you so much. And I think that is such an important thing to recognize as women, is when we need to be really firm with ourselves about a boundary of something that we need to let go of. I think it is so important that we do this and that we give ourselves breaks. A little hack that I have is to schedule it into your day and leave your phone at home. And this might be the hardest thing, is slowly but surely learning how to leave your phone at home, or thinking about, how can I listen to myself today? How can I listen to my body today? What is my brain asking for? What is my body asking for? Not what everybody else is doing. What am I thinking about? And a lot of the things that burn us out is we're actually able to withstand a very high level of stress. Stress is not inherently bad. I don't want anybody to think that, because stress is really good. It teaches us a lot of things, and it can be good. It can be giving us a lot of meaning and purpose in our lives. And I mean, I think about it in the idea that, like, we wouldn't have kids if it didn't have a lot of purpose and meaning behind it. It is way too stressful. So we can handle high levels of stress when it comes to things that give us meaning and purpose. But when we feel that meaning and purpose, like when we start to argue with our kids more and it doesn't feel like we're having an effect with them as much, that starts to burn us out. With work, if we're not feeling the return as much, if we don't feel that like sense of return with like what we're doing, it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing as much, that's stressing us out, because that purpose, that higher meaning is not attached. And then that stress is no longer like something that we can withstand. This next one is a quote that is from this amazing book called Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. This is where I've gotten a lot of my information from, as well as a few different other articles. But wellness is the freedom to move fluidly through the cycles of being human. Wellness is thus not a state of being, it is an action. And even one further, I like to think about wellness as, it's not things being good all the time. It's not feeling great. It's not feeling happy all the time. It's learning to move with our bodies. It's learning to help support ourselves in the stress, because you're never going to stop stressors from happening. They're outside of our control, but we do get to learn how to interact and move forward with our stress. So the next section here is got a lot of more scientific information that will help us understand what's going on with our bodies. I'm going to move through it pretty quickly. You'll get this all sent to you afterwards, and it's kind of a lot. So just let's go with it. So the stress cycle. The stress cycle is what happens in our body. So the stress is that neurological, physiological thing, whereas the stressor is the thing that we can't control. So this is the kids, the houseworks, the works, the relationship, the not being able to put the phone down. Those are all stressors. And some of those we can control, some of those we can't. Some of those need boundaries created, but we can't, the thing is we can't actually create boundaries around our stressors if we're in a state of stress. Because when we're in a state of stress, that's the neurological, physiological thing that's happening. We're not thinking straight. Our bodies aren't interacting properly, and it's too much. It's too much to do both. So I like to kind of throw away the, like, we're not going to deal with the stressors today. We can work on that later, but not today. Today, we're working on the stress cycle. We're working on what can you do today to help lessen all of these effects. So what happens to your body when you feel stress? It's actually it makes sense. So epinephrine acts instantly to push more blood into your muscles. Endorphins help you ignore discomfort. Your heart beats faster, equaling your blood pumping harder, and blood pressure is increasing. If you think about why heart disease and stress are so related, this is a huge reason why. We breathe more quickly, so we're not using our full bodies, which then leads to more anxiety because our breath and our emotions are so highly connected. Our muscles tense up. This is why we have neck pain and body pain when we're super stressed out. Like, hello, everybody here has probably felt physical ailments due to their stress. That's just huge. And we don't actually notice it until we're kind of moved through it. Also, like when we're in high levels of stress, like when something's really intense and we have to show up, we can show up and forget how much pain we're in. So our muscles get tense, our sensitivity to pain diminishes, our attention is on alert, and we're focusing on short-term, here and now thinking. This is why creating boundaries when you're in a state of stress is not helpful. Our senses are heightened, so we get more anxious, and to maximize our body's efficiency in this state, because when your body is experiencing stress, all this is happening. Your body needs to then deprioritize things. So we deprioritize digestion, immune function shifts, growth and tissue repair decreases, as well as reproductive functioning. So we often hear how this relates. We often hear that like gaining weight is a sign of stress, acne, a sign of stress, growth in tissue, people have a harder time conceiving when they're in a high state of stress. All of these things are because our body is feeling stress. So the next thing is, how do we stop this from happening? To think about this in a different sense, if you think about stress as your body is going to interact the same exact way, regardless of if you're getting chased by a lion or you're working on a project at work. Your body is doing the same exact thing. Your mind might be doing something differently, but your actual physical body is doing the same thing. That is why all these things are happening, because our bodies are evolved to be able to take care of itself when we are in danger. And our technology has far surpassed everything else that's kind of going on. So how do we complete the stress cycle? All of this happens and there is a solution, and it's super simple, and I can't wait to talk about it. So completing the cycle. So you feel stress. Maybe your brain moves through it and you are emotionally done with whatever that thing is. It was super annoying. Somebody at work sucked, and whatever, you're done with it. The next thing is your brain might have moved through it, but your body has not yet, unless you have done one of these things. So the first thing that I like to make sure that we are all remembering is get in nature, get outside, go to a park, go on a short walk, whatever you got to do. But when we get in nature, sorry, something just popped up on my screen. When we get in nature, there's a physical thing that's going on with our brains. So our brains use this thing called directed attention all day, every day, no matter what you're doing. Directed attention is what we are using when we're writing emails, when we are trying not to get hit by a car, when there are billboards going off, when there's all these things going on. That is all the stuff that is going on with our directed attention. It does this tons of work to keep you safe and keep you alive. So when you get in nature, and you're obviously, this is like within reason. If you're in a dangerous place in nature, this isn't actually helpful. If it's super stressful in nature, it's not super helpful either. But what is helpful is being somewhere that is calming. So that is why sunsets are so calming. It is not pulling your attention aggressively like that billboard. It is not pulling your attention like that email or whatever. So I would imagine that all of you know the feeling of 2 o'clock in the day, feeling exhausted, and you still have like 3 hours left of work and you don't know what to do and you keep trying to push through work. You keep doing it. Can everybody write in the chat if you have done this? Write a yes, write a heck yeah, whatever it is. If you have tried to push through that feeling of fog, feeling really exhausted, or you've gone for like a second cup of coffee, maybe your 10th cup of coffee. I don't judge, whatever you do. I drink a lot of coffee too. I get it. But what we're doing is we're trying to like artificially make our brains work better when they're just exhausted, and your brain needs to be replenished. And there's a few ways we can do this. One, we can take a nap. Oftentimes naps kind of are hard to do in the middle of our day. Another big way is meditation. Meditation is super helpful for this as well. But the one that I find to be the easiest, the least stressful, because sometimes I feel like I've heard this from a lot of folks, is it's like trying to meditate in the middle of the day is like the worst thing. It just feels super stressful, and then you have to go back to work and it doesn't feel really enlivening. If that feels, does that relate to other people struggle to also like meditate halfway through the day? Write something. Yes, awesome. So getting into nature, that is one of the best ways to replenish your directed attention. You will be able to get all of your work done way faster, way more creatively, way with more love and care and compassion if you go outside for 1 hour. That is it. That is all you need to do. So getting into nature is literally reviving us. And that's because it is using your attention gently. Like if you think about a sunset, we love watching sunsets. And when we watch a sunset, it relaxes us and it feels good, but you still have a lot of attention on it. And that's because it's modestly taking your attention as opposed to aggressively taking your attention. So completing the stress cycle, and we're back. The other things that we can do. So getting in nature is one of the best ways. Doing any of these things in nature is the best. But moving your body for 20, 30, 60 minutes, whatever you can do, that is the most effective way to tell your body that it is safe again and that it is done and it no longer needs to be stressed out. This can be walking, this can be dancing, this can be running, this can be swimming, this can be literally anything that is physical movement. When you can do those things outside, obviously the best, but even if you're stuck inside, moving for any period of time is an incredible way to complete your stress cycle. So when we're completing our stress cycle, basically what we're doing is we're telling our nervous system that it's safe again, that it's totally fine and everything's good. So there are some less effective, but still quite effective ways to complete your stress cycle, because we don't always have time to go for a walk or a run, or we don't always create the time, I think is like the more realistic way of saying that. Breathing, taking a few deep breaths, closing your eyes, maybe doing some breathing exercise, square breathing, which is breathing in 2, 3, 4, and then you hold for 4 seconds at the top, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. That is one of the best ways to regulate our actual breathing, which helps our nervous system chill out. Positive social interaction. I love this one because it's so simple. It doesn't need to be like your best friend or anything. It literally can be somebody, the cashier at the checkout line, and just like having a positive interaction with them, being like, hey, how's it going? And it just being a really fun conversation. And that, what that is doing, that positive social interaction, is telling us that the world is safe again. Because when you go into a stress response, your body is, your nervous system is all being like, I'm not safe, I need to run for my life. So what you need to do is tell your body, I'm safe again, everything is okay. You're helping your body move through that emotion. Laughter and affection, this in like a big cry. I like to kind of pair these ones all together. Actually, I'll do laughter, affection, big cry, and creative expression. So laughter has to be big belly laughs, like not the fake, like social, like this is like good for like this social interaction to kind of laugh here. This is like big belly laughs, like your favorite comedian. And this is why comedy is so healing. It is helping us kind of move through an emotion and feel it fully. because often we're hitting the stress cycle, we're getting stuck in it because we're not feeling the emotion fully. Affection, this is like, the information that I got this from, they have some specific things I think is kind of interesting, but makes a lot of sense, which is like a 6-second kiss. So a 6-second kiss, it has to be that long because 6 seconds is too long to be kissing somebody who you don't want to kiss. Like you can like kiss like mwah, mwah, yeah, whatever. But when you take 6 seconds of your life to slow down and kiss your partner and feel that connection and feel that love, that is helping your entire body and your entire nervous system slow back down. Same thing with like a really good hug. This is like a 20 to 30 second hug. And don't get too hung up on the timing, but it's that idea of like that feeling of release. And if any of you guys have kids, or if you've been around kids, you see the stress cycle happen really quickly with them. Kids are phenomenal. And this goes into like a big cry. They're so good at moving through their stress cycle. They're so good at listening to their bodies and what they need to do. And this is because like they're not bothered by the rest of the world yet. They're not concerned about it. And what those big cries do is like your body feels anxious, scared, stressed. When you cry, you allow your body to move through that cycle. When you let it fully out, you allow your body to shake it off and be done with it. And that's why you see kids cry like crazy, because the worst thing that's ever happened in their life just happened to them, which is probably something that's not that bad. Like somebody would kick dirt at them or something like that at the playground. But it was the worst thing that's ever happened to them, or you took away their toy, heaven forbid. Whatever it is, that's the worst thing that's happened to them. So in that moment, what happens? They cry, they maybe throw their body, they do whatever kids do, and then they come to you and they hug you, and then they just move on. All of a sudden it's just done. They're not concerned about that thing at all. Again, they're best friends with the person who kicked dirt at them, whatever it is, but they move through it really well and really quickly. And I love that about kids. It's such a great reminder. And the last one is creative expression. Creative expression, this can be playing music, writing music yourself. This can be painting. This can be doing ceramics, some sort of creativity, however you feel that. And that is because when we're interacting with art, we're allowing our bodies to feel an emotion, because that's what art does for us. Like it goes through, that's what an artist oftentimes is trying to do. They're trying to show you the full emotion of something. And there does have a sense of completion there. And when we're interacting with that, it helps us go through that as well. Okay, is everybody still with me? Anybody have questions on anything regarding the stress cycle and completing it, anything along those lines? I know that was a lot. So type your questions. Let me know if you got it. If you got it, say yes, got it. No questions yet. Awesome. I'm going to take a sip of water. Anybody else? Lovely. Lovely, lovely. So get to the root cause. Why? My big thing is we feel burnt out, we feel stressed, and I start with the stress cycle because that's helping you get to the root cause. There's no sense in my mind to put band-aids on something that is bigger. So maybe you kind of have time to create a boundary that might help you fix this one thing. But if you don't take the time to kind of slow down and kind of work through what it is that's really making you tick, that's really burning you out and stressing you out, it's not going to change. It's just going to like continue to push like this like feeling of like exhaustion. And over time, that is literally going to kill us. This is why I'm so passionate about it, is because this is your health. This is your wellness. This is going to the doctor less. This is eating your fruits and vegetables, interacting with your stress, taking it seriously, getting intimate with it, all of that. You deserve to heal it. You deserve to feel better. And I help people get to the root cause. That is what I am passionate about. That is what all of my courses are about, is getting to the root cause, because it's more than just like dealing with like this people pleasing thing that you've been doing like your entire life. It's more than like creating a boundary about putting your phone down at the end of the day. It's more than that, because you are more complex than that. We are all incredibly unique people. So I'm going to go through a few questions, because this is And by questions, like these are just like states to kind of like sink into. So everybody take a deep breath. I can't see you all, so I'm just going to take you for your word. Take a deep breath. And take a minute to close your eyes, if you can. So what if you could let go of all of the pressure? All of the pressure that work is putting on you, all of the pressure that your kids or your wife or your husband or your partner or your family, what if you could let go of all of that pressure? And in return, you could feel more creative, you could be more efficient in your day-to-day life. What if you didn't have to dread your meetings? What if your meetings felt fun and exciting because you felt so creative and you felt so alive about what you were trying to share with the world? What if every single meeting felt like excitement? What if every single dinner with your family didn't feel like exhaustion? And my big thing is, what if you didn't have to quit your job to stop feeling burnt out? That is my number one thing. Because most of the time, you don't need to quit your job because your burnout's bigger than your job, because you're more complex than just your job. You're not just your work. That is it. So you can open your eyes if you have been having your eyes closed. So think about it. What if you didn't have to quit your job to stop feeling burnt out? What if all of a sudden everything shifted? Does anybody have any thoughts or things that you want to share? You can type it in the chat. I like the chat. The screen allows me to see everything a lot better. Did anything there resonate more so than others? Yes, you work so hard to be where you're at and you don't want to quit. Exactly. That is like the biggest thing. It's like, man, you have put in way too much work to stop now. You have worked to be at this position in your job, in your career. And starting over doesn't mean that that feeling goes away. It just means you have to do it again. And it's not, sometimes there's things about our work that we can't control that are stressing us out. That's the reality. And oftentimes there is so much that you get to do that changes that. Like this is what I worked with one of my clients about. I love her so much. She is so great. And she came to me and she was basically ready to quit her job. She was like, yeah, I'm going to quit. Like basically, I'm just like, she was looking for a feedback loop that was going to tell her, yep, it's time to quit. It's time to quit. Just quit your job. Because that's what her other coaches were telling her to do. Everybody else was telling her, it's time to quit your job. And something that I encouraged her to do is I leave it open. I don't tell you to quit your job or keep your job. Like, I don't care either way. Because what we did is we dove deeper into it. We thought about what was it about working at her job? What are like the specific things? And it's hundreds of things and it's one thing altogether. And it comes down to how we're looking at it, which sounds simple and it's not. It's simple, but complex. It's simple, but not easy. I don't know which one of those you want to say. Let me read this. I love the part when you said, what if you felt excited about your meetings because you could be creative and you were giving something to the world? I love that. I often dread meetings. I usually have them back to back. So very often by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. Yes. Oh my gosh. I seriously, like, I've worked with so many folks who have been with that. Like, that is exhausting. And then why would you want to keep doing it? And there is a way. I guarantee you, not guarantee, because you are your own person. Everything changes. The world is always changing. But likely you don't need to quit your job. Likely there's other things that we get to work on and change. So we're going to go into it. So I have this amazing, like I said, I was working with a client she was ready to quit her job. And she actually decided that she's not going to quit her job because it's not her job. And then she doesn't have to like go through everything again and work with new people and deal with all this other stress, which is like, oh, I'm going to just change all these other things. So the Burnout Root Cause course. The Burnout Root Cause course is the 6-week supported online course where you go from being burnt out on self-care practices to, I'll kind of read through these and then I'll elaborate a little bit. So understanding the root cause of your burnout. I just went on a whole spiel about that. knowing how and where your stress is sitting in your body, loving your relationships again. And this is a huge one because so much in our relationships, we end up just bickering with our partner about, you're on your phone all the time, you're doing this all the time, you're super burnt out, can you please stop? Like, you're arguing about your burnout. Or maybe there's something in your relationship that maybe needs to be addressed, like you're stressed out, and that is like creating a lot of tension, which is then burning you out. When you're surrounded by others who are not as busy as you are, so you see them chilling and you are so exhausted. This makes me jealous. I miss living. Oh my God, yes. And you can get that back. You can be busy and feel alive and not feel like you are exhausted, and you can live your life. So you can go to rocking your meetings again, because this is something I love, the idea of having people who are creative and excited to share. And when we feel creative, when we trust ourselves, when we love everything that we're doing, everybody else is attracted to that. I've worked with clients that they end up like getting promotions and all this other crazy stuff, crazy, amazing things, because they trust themselves, and in return, other people trust them. But nobody else has time or space to trust you if you aren't trusting you. If you're not taking care of your needs, if you're just stressed out and on that negative feedback loop, they don't want to be a part of that. That's not attractive. That doesn't feel fun and exciting. Think about what you're attracted to. What are you attracted to? It's probably, like I'm hearing, like you're attracted to relaxing, to chilling, to living our lives, maybe to the people who are out there hiking every day or whatever. Like, what are you guys attracted to? Let's talk about that. Type it in the chat. What is like the number 1, 2, 3 things that you're just like, oh, I wish that was there, or I'm attracted to this. Being outdoors, don't really know. That's something to sit on, to think on. It's like, what do you want? What does that core? Cooking your own meals. Ooh, yes, yes. Reading. Oh my God, reading for pleasure and just like laying down with a good book and like napping halfway through and then waking up and reading more. That's like traveling again with your wife. Yes. Oh my God. That so many of those things, I just have so many yeses towards. It just feels so good to hear that. And think about all of those things like that we're wanting. Oh my gosh, exercise. Yes, so many things. All of these things in return are things that are going to help you be better at what you do. When we get to the root cause, that frees up space to be able to do these things again. Other people, you don't feel angry or frustrated about them as much because there's so many other things that you are excited about in life. So in this burnout root cause course that I offer, there's also an optional, which most folks do this. It's one-on-one coaching with me. That's a 45-minute burnout coaching session with me once a week for this it's a 6-week-long course. And during those 6 weeks, once you sign up, for the first 6 weeks, you do have that option for the 45-minute session with me. And it's super fun. It's a Zoom call and we kind of get into it. And this allows you to kind of even go deeper into what your burnout root cause is. Because like I was saying before, you have to get to the root cause to actually create change. The other main way that I support folks getting to the root cause of their burnout is with the solo immersion. This is this 3-day immersive experience where you come out to Utah, to Southern Utah, which is where I live. It is, to me, one of the most magical places I've ever been. And I've been around the US. Like, I've traveled quite a bit. I just spent an entire weekend in the redwoods up in California. And I love them. They're amazing. They're great. There's nothing like the desert. There's nothing like the healing energy, that wide open space and like beautiful big sky and like this picture in this right here is real. Like, that is 100%. That my husband's a photographer, and that is a long exposure of the stars, and you can see them that clearly. Obviously, this is like a great photo. And like when I'm looking up at the stars, like I can see bazillion stars. Like, it is so amazing, and that in itself is so healing. So that's why I love Utah so much. And on this 3-day immersion, It is a solo experience within a group experience. I'll dive into that really quickly, not to get too far into this. But the first day is kind of a group experience. This is a 3-day immersion. So that first day is that group experience where we're getting into vulnerability groups. We're teaching you everything you need to know about the wilderness. We're doing meditations and yoga and ceremony and all of these things to help relax the mind. Everything is provided for you. Everything is taken care of. That second day, you go out onto a 24 to 30 hour solo experience in the wilderness where everything is safe. You are very close to me in relation, but it's the idea that you are in your own space that is separate from the group, and each group member has their own spot. This is time that is uninterrupted just for you, because something that I see the most is we have thousands of ideas of boundaries that we want, and we don't have the time to create them because we are busy. Everybody here is busy. If I'm hearing anything, it's people are busy. So you have to take a step to put you first. These 3 days could change your life. Those 6 weeks in the online course, both of these things, that online course, those can change your life into creating time and space where you get to interact with yourself, dive into what you want to do, and then be able to move forward. Because when you trust yourself, everybody else will trust you. When you trust yourself, you will listen to yourself more. You will know that, like, oh, my body's really tired. Usually that means I need to do this, but I'm going to do all these other things. It's like, no, I'm going to listen to my body because I know that I'm worth it. I know that I deserve that. And I know that I am important and I need to trust me. So that is kind of, those are the things. You need that time to be able to heal. And then the last day we kind of all come off solo. So that solo is a 3-day immersion. The next one is end of August. I think it's the 28th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday here in August. And I'm super psyched on this one. So we've got the immersion. We have the root cause course. The root cause course, you can start today. You can literally, learn more about this. 1, ask me questions, but 2, you can just go to groundingsource.com, and at the top, there's a button that says online courses, and then we can go from there. And then you can sign up. Everything is fully online. You can fully sign up, and then I'll be able to get all the emails and everything. And everything is going to be, I'm going to be emailing you all after this to make sure that you guys have all the links. And every single person that's on this call, you have the opportunity to have a 30 to 60 minute, kind of whatever feels right for you and your timing. Each one of you has the opportunity to have a 30 to 60 minute call with me, just a straight up grounding call. We can talk about what, like all of the root cause of where you're at, like what does your life look like now? Where are your stressors? How can I support you right now? And if you have any interest of getting on that call, 1, say, hey, heck yeah, in the chat, because I'd be psyched to, because I want to be your friend. I want to be your best friend. That's like basically what it is. And I would love to work with all of you just on like that short grounding call. So let's start off with any questions about any of the information that I just dove into. I'll give it like a couple of minutes. Let it take a few deep breaths, kind of think about the information and digest it. And then let's see if we can answer any questions. Can I sign up for the online course and start anytime? Yes, absolutely. You can sign up for the online course today, tomorrow, next week. And then everything is just kind of like you go and you sign up and then it just starts whenever. You will have lifetime access to the online course. So once you do sign up, you have forever access to it. And then, but you do only have those first 6 weeks for the coaching calls, if that makes sense. I can't leave it open forever on the coaching calls. That just gets exhausting. So I have to protect myself too, so that I don't get burnt out. It's all a whole cycle. Good to know. I'm going to check that out. Awesome. Got it. Thank you. You're super cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I need to model your behavior. Dude, it is so, there are so many things. And just so you guys all know, I have also been burnt out. I have also been stressed and crazy and burnt out and wanting to quit my job, my business, I was like, okay, throwing it away. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I can't do it. And it's because I wasn't taking care of myself. And then I did basically an entire like cleansing of myself, which felt like I didn't have time for, but if I wouldn't have done that, I would have quit everything. And this is the good work. My mission is to help serve y'all the best and the most that I can. So the last thing is to follow me. I'm on Instagram, kind of on TikTok, kind of. And so Instagram is probably the best way, and on Facebook as well, but at Grounding Source on Instagram. On there, I post a bunch of stories. I post a ton of information about stress, the stress cycle, ways that we get burnt out, about getting outside, everything about that. And I love connecting with you guys on Instagram specifically because it's so fun. Also, after this, I'm going to send you guys all a short email that we can all connect with and be together. So yeah, again, feel free to sign up for a grounding call, and all that information is going to be sent to you. I love you all. Thank you so much for showing up and being here and interacting. It's awesome. I appreciate it so much. Any other comments, questions? If something comes up later, be sure to reach out to me. I will answer it. Like, I want to help you. I want to serve you as much as I can. Thank you. Love you guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome so much. Fun. Sweet. Well, I'm just going to end it all. Thanks, Sabrina.
Really nice job.
Thank
Thank you.
No, you're so welcome.